folks. Good morning, friends, sisters, and brothers. Great to be here with you this morning. Great to have you here with me this morning. That's what it is for you. For you, it's Friday morning at 9 o'clock. For me, it's Thursday afternoon at 1:30. But whatever time it is, it's a good time to be together and to be looking at the Bible. And that's what we're here for today. I'm Brian. I'm the pastor here at Christ United Methodist Church, PB, Pastor Brian, and hence the title of our show, PB Reads the Bible. And we are on a journey through the book of Genesis. Today is day 14 of our journey through Genesis, but we're actually working on chapter 19. We're going to be looking at chapter 19 today. A few days we did some extra chapters because they were short or I didn't have a lot to talk about, whatever the reason. But the last couple days, just been one chapter, and that's what it's going to be again today. Now, doing it this way, doing the recording and then uploading, unlimited to a half an hour. So I'm going to have to try and talk relatively quickly and stay on point. So no announcements today other than to say I'll see you again on Tuesday. So I don't think I'll be doing a Monday one. I think this will just be Tuesday will be next up for us. All right, let's get into chapter 19. So just as the refresher, hopefully you remember some of your stuff from yesterday, from chapter 18. Because some of that stuff is really important as we're looking forward here. And hopefully you did your homework. I know at least one of you did because you sent me a text about 3 minutes after the video concluded, our lesson yesterday concluded, and you were giving me the answer. So great, that's wonderful. Now, even though I'm not live, check in. Let me know who you're here because I'll be checking later on to see. I'll be taking attendance later on, making sure that you are here following along. Anyway, so that stuff is important. Now we're getting into this chapter, which this chapter is used a lot for very specific purposes by some individuals, to the point that it's referred to as one of the clobber passages that people use to clobber folks in the LGBTQ community. So you might have been told things about this passage over time and over the years. I'm just going to ask you to kind of suspend your knowledge and go with me on this journey through chapter 19. That evening, the two angels came to the entrance of the city of Sodom. Lot was sitting there, and when he saw them, he stood up to meet them. Then he welcomed them and bowed with his feet to the ground. "My lords," he said, "come to my home to wash your feet and be my guests for the night. You may then get up early in the morning and be on your way again." "Oh no," they replied, "we'll just spend the night out here in the city square." But Lot insisted, so at last they went home with him. Pause. I know it's in the middle of a verse, but pause. Just a reminder from yesterday, the rule of hospitality. Lot is doing everything he's supposed to be doing. The author is showing, in these few verses, the author is showing that Lot is a very honorable man and seeks to gain honor. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing. And it sounds like, since no one else is mentioned, it sounds like Lot is the only person who is there at the square, at the gate, to welcome people when they come, which everyone should be there. There should be a whole bunch of the men of the city there to welcome guests, to provide housing, to provide care, to offer water, to be hospitable to anyone who happens to be showing up, because it's evening. It's evening. There's no Howard Johnson's, there's no Holiday Inn, there's nothing like that. You survive on the kindness of strangers. And it was a rule to be there to welcome them into the city and to provide for people's needs, to provide for the needs of travelers. Lot is the only one doing what he's supposed to be doing. Middle of 3, Lot prepared a feast for them, complete with fresh bread made without yeast, and they ate. But before they retired for the night, all the men of Sodom young and old, came from all over the city and surrounded the house. They shouted to Lot, "Where are the men who came to spend the night with you? Bring them out to us so we can have sex with them." Pause. It's not exactly what it says, not literally. In Hebrew, it says that we may know them, that we may know them, which sometimes does mean sex, but not always. It is quite possible they were suspicious and wanted to know these men and what they were trying to do, what they were doing in their community. Again, they're not following the rule of hospitality, and they're trying to violate the rule of hospitality. Even if they are looking to have sex with these guys, they're violating the rule of hospitality by trying to get Lot to give them up to them. It's not about sex. It's about power. It's about power. They wanted to have power over these two men. Um, it and it's gang rape is what's being proposed. So Lot stepped outside to talk to them, shutting the door behind them. "Please, my brothers," he begged, "don't do such a wicked thing. Look, I have two virgin daughters. Let me bring them out to you, and you can do with them as you wish. But please leave these men alone, for they are my guests and are under my protection." Pause. There's no way to truly justify now what Lot is offering. He's offering his two daughters to be gang raped by all these men of the community. Now, it does say all the men of the city, which I'm sure is exaggeration. The author is making a point that Lot was the only one who is respected and honorable and doing the right thing and all of this stuff. And he's being specific. He's pointing out to them, what you're doing is wrong. I have these men are under my protection. So he's taking it to the point that he has to do whatever he can do, even something as disgusting as offering his daughters to these men, to keep his two guests protected. He's trying to follow the rule of hospitality. "Stand back," they shouted. "This man came to town as an outsider, and now he's acting like our judge. We'll treat you far worse than those other men." And they lunged toward Lot to break down the door. But the two angels reached out, pulled Lot into the house, and bolted the door. Then they blinded all the men, young and old, who were at the door of the house. So they gave up trying to get inside. Pause. What was the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah? You've probably been told numerous times over the years that um, they were homosexuals, and that's why God destroyed the town. Of course, even the word Sodom, the name Sodom, we've turned it into the word sodomy or sodomize, referring to particular forms of sexual actions. Um, that's not what's taking place here. Even if they wanted to have sex with these men, it wasn't to have sex with these men, it was to have power over these men. Um, it's rape, it's gang rape. If you did your homework, like I know some of you did, I'm sure some of you did. I'm just going to look off to the side here so I can read it because I have it up on my screen as soon as I can get my mouse to work properly. If you did it, you probably saw something different. I specifically mentioned yesterday the passage from Ezekiel, which again, I know at least one of you looked up. It's from Ezekiel chapter 16, verses 49 to 50, and it gives us the clearest view of what the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah was. "Now this was the sin of your sister Sodom. She and her daughters were arrogant, overfed, and unconcerned. They did not help the poor and needy. They were haughty, and did detestable things before me. Therefore I did away with them, as you have seen. The sin of Sodom. She and her daughters were arrogant, overfed, and unconcerned. They did not help the poor and needy. When we change the point of the story, when we change the sin to a sin that probably most of us don't have, even if it is a sin, whatever the case may be, whatever the sin is, when we start judging people for their sin, we have a tendency to do it because it's not our sin. Um, when the sin that the passage is really talking about hits a little closer to home. A little closer to home. So, continuing. Meanwhile, the angels questioned Lot. Do you have any other relatives here in the city? They asked. Get them out of this place. Your sons-in-law, sons, daughters, or anyone else. For we are about to destroy this city completely. The outcry against this place is so great, it has reached Hashem, and he has sent us to destroy it. So Lot rushed out to tell his daughters, fiancés, quick, get out of the city. Hashem is about to destroy it. But the young man thought he was only joking. At dawn the next morning, the angels became insistent. Hurry, they said to Lot. Take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here. Get out right now, or you will be swept away in the destruction of the city. When Lot still hesitated, the angel seized his hand and the hands of his wife and 2 daughters and rushed them to safety outside the city, for Hashem was merciful. When they were safely out of the city, one of the angels ordered, run for your lives, and don't look back or stop anywhere in the valley. Escape to the mountains or you will be swept away. Oh no, my lord, Lot begged. You have been so gracious to me and saved my life, and you have shown such great kindness. But I cannot go to the mountains. Disaster would catch up to me there, and I would soon die. See, there's a small village nearby. Please let me go there instead. Don't you see how small it is? Then my life will be saved. Pause. Interesting points to this, right? Interesting points to this. Lot, again, doesn't want to go to the mountains. Remember, Abram at that time gave Lot the choice of where to go. He said, you go one way, I'll go to the other. And he chose the valley, which was the better land, the better territory. And he picked that to go to. And once again, he is choosing, I don't want to go to the mountains. He must be tied up with that idea that it's not fertile, not going to have enough food, not going to be able to take care of all my sheep and animals, all my livestock and stuff like that. Just let me go over there to that small village. Surely that'll save my life by going to a small village. Interesting. All right, the angel said, I will grant your request. I will not destroy the little village. But hurry, escape to it, for I can do nothing until you arrive there. This explains why that little village was known as Zoar, which means little place. Little place. Lot reached the village just as the sun was rising over the horizon. Then Hashem rained down fire and burning sulfur from the sky on Sodom and Gomorrah. He utterly destroyed them, along with the other cities and villages of the plain, wiping out all the people and every bit of vegetation. But Lot's wife looked back as she was following behind him, and she turned into a pillar of salt. Abraham got up early that morning and hurried out to the place where he had stood in Hashem's presence. He looked out across the plain toward Sodom and Gomorrah and watched as columns of smoke rose from the cities like smoke from a furnace. But God had listened to Abraham's request and kept Lot safe, removing him from the disaster that engulfed the cities on the plain. Pause. So Abraham ran out. What was he hoping to see? He was probably hoping to see nothing, probably hoping to see that everything was just as it had been the day before, that Hashem's messengers had been able to find, the sufficient number of righteous people to prevent the destruction of the two towns, as he had negotiated yesterday. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. The author concludes that story with, it wasn't the case. Continuing. I'm sorry, I think I've said enough. So we're going to continue. Afterward, Lot left Zoar because he was afraid of the people there. And he went to live in a cave in the mountains with his two daughters. Pause. The very place he didn't want to go. 2 times is where he ends up going now. Into the mountains. And is living in a cave with his 2 daughters. One day, the older daughter said to her sister, "There are no men left anywhere in this entire area. So we can't get married like everyone else. And our father will soon be too old to have children. Come, let's get him drunk with wine, and then we will have sex with him. That way we will preserve our family line through our father." Pause. Remember that whole idea of that's why Abraham wanted to have a son. Having sons, having children is how your name is carried beyond you. And so even these women, they're no better than the men at wanting to preserve this idea of life beyond my own by having children, because that's the only way my name can go on. It's we will preserve our family line, and they didn't want their family line to end because then they would be forgotten, because there's no other life beyond this. So that night they got him drunk with wine, and the older daughter went in and had intercourse with her father. He was unaware of her lying down or getting up again. The next morning, the older daughter said to her younger sister, "I had sex with our father last night. Let's get him drunk with wine again tonight, and you go in and have sex with him. That way we'll preserve our family line through our father." So that night they got him drunk with wine again, and the younger daughter went in and had intercourse with him. As before, he was unaware of her lying down or getting up again. As a result, both of Lot's daughters became pregnant by their own father. When the older daughter gave birth to a son, she named him Moab, which means from father, or at least sounds like the Hebrew word for from father. He became the ancestor of the nation now known as the Moabites. When the younger daughter gave birth to a son, she named him Ben-Ami. He became the ancestor of the nation now known as the Ammonites. Pause. And Ben-Ami means son of my kinsman. Pause. End of chapter. Okay, a couple things. The points of the story, and the reason why the author is telling this story is to introduce these 2 new groups of people, to show how they're there and to show why they're not friendly with the people of Israel. Okay, Moab, the Moabites, there's a lot of traditional animosity, what we're going to see in some of the other chapters here and in the time of David. And the same thing with the Ammonites. It's another group that they battled against. So to an extent, that's what the author is trying to do here, is to show where these 2 groups of people came from and why we don't like them. And why we don't like them. The other thing to point out about this whole thing is, excuse me, modern day soap operas have nothing on the Bible, right? For the intrigue and sex and drama and backstabbing and plotting and vengeance and all that kind of stuff that we see in literally in modern day television soap operas, as well as in movies and books and all that kind of stuff. the Bible is loaded with it. So anybody that tells you reading the Bible is boring, they're obviously not reading the right parts. They should read those couple chapters and some other things as well. Well, friends, looks like I did it. I got through that chapter in just over 20 minutes. So Restream won't give me a problem with loading this video. At least I hope not, assuming I recorded everything else properly. So that's it for today. I will see you again on Tuesday. All right, friends. I don't think I'm going to be able to do any recordings over the weekend, and like I said, Sunday gets to be a little too hectic lately. So Tuesday it is. I hope you've been blessed by this. I hope you've learned something. Let me know if you've got problems with anything I said, and we can talk. We do that privately, not through the comments section or anything like that. As you go about your days, keep your eyes and ears, physical and spiritual, open for what God is doing in your life. We do still have love and serve an active God. So when you see those things, say, thanks, Papa, and then tell people about it, including me. All right, friends. Until we meet again, be blessed.